Hey, it's Crush here. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode here in my new Commander series on my YouTube channel. It's going to be called Deck Tales, and that's where I'm going to go over a quick diegesis of all of my personal decks here. So, I actually kind of got the idea from this deck from a buddy of mine, Sensei, on Popcorn and Pork Rinds here on YouTube. He was doing a little bit of a giveaway where he actually, every time he pulls a heir apparent, he gives it away to somebody. And I won one of them. But he had a video on one of his TikToks where he kind of went over a standard deck where you could abuse Heir Apparent with Impact Trimmers to kill your opponent. And, well, I really enjoy making commander decks with a really funny story around them. So I built this deck here, and I thought it would be a great way to start out this series. So, a little bit about the deck. The commander is Caesar from the Fallout commander decks. So the deck is going to be Mardu. So that means red, white, black. And yeah, the whole theme is about making a bunch of heir apparents come out onto the battlefield, making a bunch of tokens, and we're gonna kill our opponents with a few ways here, such as impact trimmers, obviously, as I mentioned earlier in the video. And then, yeah, at all costs is how we win with this deck. And yeah, so why don't we get into the deck tech real quick? Alright, so here is the deck tech. I decided to name the deck Machine Gun Bunny, and like I said earlier, this is themed around Caesar from the Fallout series, and he has just an endless legion, and they're just unyielding. They just stop at nothing to kill the opponent. They just it's the unyielding legion. Um, and when I won that heir apparent in the giveaway, I just immediately went to this would be the funniest way to build a deck. So yeah, let's get into the idea of the deck real quick. Again, it's you're just gonna mow down your opponents by making as many tokens as possible. Now, outside of what the Mox field says, I did kind of build this to be budget. I went through and I picked a bunch of the fancy printings just to make it look pretty. I have a problem with fancy cardboard. But yes, so I did build the deck with budget in mind outside of the printings. So you could change things here and there to benefit more with a higher budget. But yeah, so first thing with our creatures, we want to abuse Heir Apparent here, which, if you don't know, Heir Apparent is one colorless and a white. It is a Rabbit Noble and it is a 2/2. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. And a deck can have any number of cards named Heir Apparent in them. So currently I am running 26. And then I have a couple of creatures here that help me abuse those Heir Apparents. I've got Agate Instigator, which has Offspring, one colorless and a red, which will make a 1/1 copy of this. But yeah, when another creature you control enters the battlefield, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Got Corpse Knight here, which whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses a life. And then I have Perforos here, which most people are going to know Perforos, but yeah, it is indestructible. And then as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent. More than likely, your devotion is going to be less than red at all times. I don't even know if there is a way to get. Let's see. Yeah, it's doesn't matter. It's more than likely going to be an indestructible enchantment at all times, which is great. But yeah, we are abusing that 2 damage, 1 life, and potentially 2 damage here on these creatures to get as many heir parents in as possible. I've got a roaming throne in here to double up the ETBs, and then I have a Moondrak to double up the tokens. And then as well, I do have a Zolaport Cutthroat and a Cruel Celebrant in the deck, which going into the sorceries here, I do have some board wipes in the deck because, when it all costs, right, with the Unyielding Legion, got those few guys in here that I could just sack my whole field of 20 creatures to potentially just win the game if I didn't kill you with ETBs and damage from the creatures that I have. Then I'm gonna just kill all my creatures and potentially kill you that way. Now, I do have a few cards here, like Diabolic Intent, Scheming Symmetry. Those are some searches. And again, you could update and throw like Demonic Tutor, Vamp Tutor in the deck to make this a little bit quicker and more streamlined. But I did want to get a little bit of a more budget potential feel to this. Now, again, granted, it is kind of pricey. It's not under $100 or anything, obviously. So take budget there with a grain of salt. But we do have a little bit of draw here. Faithless Looting, Painful Truce. I don't have a whole lot in the form of draw, which that might hinder the deck. We will see. With our instance, we do have a couple ways to protect our creatures here, but we do have some single target removal, and then we have Fiery Covenant to as well be able to take out a few others. Semester's End and Eerie Interlude in here to get a bunch of re-triggers on Heir Apparent to maybe like finish out in my end step. With our, enchantments here, we do have our Impact Trimmers and our War Leader's Call, which are going to be huge for our win con of just mowing people down. Those are obviously the main points of the deck. We do have Legion Loyalty in here. I just thought it would be funny to swing with a bunch of Heir Apparents that get Myriad, so they enter the battlefield, get a whole bunch more, maybe just swing in combat and kill people. We got Caretakers, Talent, and Anointed Procession in here just for value. And then in the artifacts, we've mostly got, some mana rocks, and then we've got Skull Clamp for draw. We do have this Halo Fountain here, which is going to be a good win con for the deck if we can get it to stick. We also have Thrumming Stone in here, which is going to be huge for the deck. We've got 26 of those Heir Apparents, so it's highly unlikely that you're going to whiff if you can get Thrumming Stone to stand out there. Um, but yeah, I felt like this would be a good setup with the artifacts, the enchantments, the instants and sorceries to pair with the creatures. I felt like it was a really good package, and it played on the story of Caesar and his unyielding legion, which I mentioned at the beginning. This whole series is about my personal decks. So with that in mind, a lot of these decks, well, actually all of these decks are going to have some kind of story and theme to them. One card that's going to be a pet card to it. So yeah, that plays pretty heavy here with the pet card being heir apparent. With the lands, again, I built this more in the sense of semi-budget. So I do have some shock lands in there, and I do have some fetch lands, but fetches aren't that expensive these days, and shocks are going to be probably the more expensive lands here. Except maybe, like this Yawgmoth and this Three Tree City in here. Most of these are gonna be fairly cheap. Um, but I did feel like, I left room for improvements for people if you wanted to make some adjustments. Um, but yeah, so with the deck tech done here, I'm gonna get into wrapping up the video here. So give me just 1 second and I'll check back in. Alright, so with that deck tech out of the way, I'm sure you guys have the question. What's up next? Well, I'm going to continue this series with Me the Immortal. I've already done a YouTube short and a TikTok on that video. But yeah, I'm going to do a full deck breakdown here on the channel of that deck here next because I do have the physical cards for that, and I would like to do a video with physical cards here next. So yeah, um, after that video, I'm just going to continue the series here with my personal decks because I've got to finish off the deck tails, right? Um, but with that in mind, I am new here on YouTube, so I do want to get some engagement going. So I am going to do a bit of a giveaway here. I am going to put some ground rules though. I would like to get 50 subscribers before I finish off the giveaway. So with that in mind, I'm going to need you guys to comment and subscribe, share with your friends, try to get them to subscribe as well. And in this giveaway, I'm going to do 3 cards here. I have, to start with at least, it's just going to be Disa, and then I have a Phyrexian Forest, and then I have Breach the Multiverse here. And then as well, I have a playmat that I'm going to keep secret for a little bit here, but this is going to be part of the giveaway. And then I have 2 other things that I will release at a later time. Um, so yeah, if you guys can share, if you guys can like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz, I really would appreciate it. But yeah, this is Crush, and I'm just gonna go ahead and sign off here. Peace out.